right, we're going to continue with our availabilities this morning. We've now been joined by Chase Briscoe, driver of the number 14 Stewart Haas Racing Ford. Chase currently sits 8th on the playoff grid, finished 9th here in the spring. We will now go to questions for Chase. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We're going to start with Jordan and go to Lee and then Mark.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. We hear, must-win situation, that kind of thing. For you, being in a must-win situation, what does that mean? What does it do for you? Does it change anything at all? Is there anything you can do at all differently to elevate your performance?
I don't think so. I mean, even the first race here, we were coming to win anyways, so I don't think it changes your outlook. I mean, every weekend you're trying to win. I think, maybe knowing that you're in a must-win makes it a little bit easier just because it makes it a little bit easier to maybe try to win the race just from a strategy standpoint because you don't have to go for the points. Where like on a road course at the Roval, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot to try to get points, and you don't really have a shot to win the race. So I think for us this week, knowing that we're in a must-win, it makes it maybe a little bit easier from a strategy standpoint if the cautions fall the right way. But yeah, we go to the racetrack every weekend to win.
Does it change your level of aggressiveness and what you're willing to do or not do, because you can't race for points? If you have an opportunity to move somebody for a win, you're not thinking twice about it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say what you're willing to do sitting here versus when you're in the moment. Just the emotions, the adrenaline, everything's totally different than when you're sitting here. So yeah, definitely knowing that you have to win. If you're in second, you're going to know that, if you're in a different points position, running second might put you into the Final Four, where for us, you're going to have to win the race. So, yeah, I don't know what you're willing to do. I think it's different for everybody, and until you're in that moment, it's hard to say. But, yeah, just got to try to go win.
All right, go ahead.
I know how scrappy you've been throughout your entire career, and, you only know one way, and that's go. And I'm kind of curious, what have you learned about yourself? Because you've been in championships before, but not at the Cup level. And what has this taught you? What have you learned? How's it going to make you better moving forward?
Yeah, I think just, I feel like even through the regular season, my whole career, I've never given up in a race. I'm always 100% every lap. But I will say I felt like in the playoffs I did a lot better job of just risk versus reward and kind of knowing, all right, Texas, for example, when we were running 28th, you're not going to drive to 5th right here. So just maintain where you're at. And, watching Harvick, he kind of is so good at that. At the beginning of the race, he might not be the best car, but at the end, he finds himself up there and in position. And I feel like in the playoffs, I learned a lot about just how to put the whole race together, where I probably didn't do the best job of that, really my entire career. Where I felt like in the playoffs, we had to string there 4 races where, I would say 2 of those we definitely finished way better than where we ran all day. And it was just a matter of just putting yourself in position, and just chipping away at it. On the restarts, try to gain 2 or 3 spots. On pit road, try to gain 2 or 3 spots. And by the end of it, you're up there in the top 10 and sometimes the top 5. So I felt like I learned a lot about that during the playoffs, and just when to push in certain, not when to push, but just when to not put yourself in a bad situation trying too hard. And I didn't do a very good job of that in the regular season. I felt like I did a lot better in the playoffs, and I kind of went all back on it last week, though.
Mark Garrow, PRN, sort of along Lee's line of questioning. What's it been like as the first time in a Cup Series playoff? Have you noticed anything different from an intensity level or just the way you've handled things? You talked a little bit about that a moment ago, but just week to week, and what's it been like?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, the intensity's not been as high as I thought it was going to be. And some of that's probably because I'm not up there battling for stage points. So that could be some of it. But I felt like the Xfinity Series, I remember 2019 when it was my first playoffs there, and being in the top 5 to 7 in those stages and how hard the racing was. And I would say it's similar in the Cup deal. But I guess what I thought it was going to be, exponentially more than even what the Xfinity Series was from an intensity standpoint. It's kind of the same. So that kind of caught me off guard because I did think it would be a little more. And I feel like just the Cup level, everybody's so cutthroat now anyways. Late race restarts, just restarts in general. Everybody's kind of out there for themselves. So the intensity didn't really change, I didn't feel like, from the regular season to the playoff time.
How disappointed are you to be in the position you're in?
Yeah, it's disappointing for sure. But but it's not as disappointing as the other 8 guys that are already knocked out. So, we still have a 1 in 8 chance. It's a slim chance, but we still have a chance where, there's, like I said, 8 other guys that don't even have a shot to be in the Final Four. So, yeah, there's still a lot to be proud of. Disappointing that we're in a must-win. I felt like if we could come here and kind of do the same as we did the other rounds of the playoffs, where if we could just be within 10 points, we had a chance to go out there and point our way in. But, yeah, we're going to have to earn it, and that's how it should be. So we'll try to win tomorrow. I thought we had a pretty good car here the first race. It's going to be interesting to see how the race plays out. If it was as hard as it was to pass the first race, if we qualify good today and start up front, we can really kind of maintain the race. So, yeah, just got to go there, know what the goal is tomorrow, just got to do it.
All right, Jeff?
How are you viewing the season for yourself at this point? Like, did you guys overachieve by making it here? Is this what you were supposed to do? Or, when you look at last week, now are you wishing like, oh man, there was more we could have gotten, more we could have done? How do you see yourself as a whole?
Yeah, I would say underachieve a little bit. I mean, just because I know what we're capable of. Like, when we put it all together, like, truthfully, we could have had 3 race wins right now, right? Like, just based off speed alone. So, only having 8 or 9 top 10s, like, when we put the whole race together, the last 4 weeks we've done it, and that's where we should be week in and week out, and, a lot of that falls on me. So I feel like I underachieved, just from not finishing. Like, I should have won the Coke 600. The Bristol race I probably wasn't going to win, but the Coke 600 I had the best car and ran 4th with it. So I felt like I underachieved in some areas. I felt like I learned a lot. I felt like I grew a lot this year. I feel way more confident in what I'm doing, and I feel like I belong in the Cup Series a lot more. So from that side, I feel like I achieved a lot of the goals and kind of checked a lot of boxes that I wanted to kind of check going into the second year of the Cup Series. But yeah, from a results standpoint, I mean, you always want more, right? Like, I mean, you could win 10 races and you wish you won 12. So, yeah, I think I wouldn't say just making it to the top 8, was an overachieving moment for us, because I felt like from a speed standpoint, we are a top 8 car when we put it all together. We just haven't done that as consistently as others. So, yeah, just felt like we underachieved a little bit, or not we. I want to put that on me. Like, I feel like I underachieved a lot just in my performance. So just got to get better, and it's going to come as I get more experience. Just putting myself in these situations and learning what not to do will hopefully help, for future times when I'm in that same situation.
All right, any final questions?
Davy's over there.
Oh, Davey. Thank you. Thanks, Chase.
Yeah. Thank you, Chase.
Go ahead.
Safe to say that qualifying in a little bit is probably the most important qualifying session of the year for you?
Yeah, for sure, I would say. We've been really, really good qualifying on the short tracks. The big tracks we've kind of struggled, but the short tracks have been really good to us. So, yeah, definitely a really important one. This is one where, as a driver, you feel like you can make quite a big of a difference. So I didn't do a very good job the first time here. I locked the left front up, so need to definitely not do that today. But, yeah, definitely a really important one. Just like I said, if it's going to be as hard as it was to pass the first race, then starting up front is going to be huge. And the pit stall selection is massive here. So, yeah, definitely an important qualifying session.
Each driver has different ways of measuring success, whether it's getting to the championship 4, winning races, etc. How do you measure success, and how would you measure it this year? Is it getting to this round, or is it going to be getting to next week?
I mean, it's tough when you're this close if you don't make it, because you can taste it. I go back to the Vegas race. I mean, I thought I was going to win the race with 20 to go, and you can kind of taste that Final Four. So when you're this close, I think, yeah, you're proud to make it this far. At least in my situation, being my second year, like, I'm proud to make it to the Final 8. But when you're this close, like, yeah, you're going to be bummed if you didn't get there. So, yeah, for me, I definitely would say it's 50-50. Like, there is some things that was a success, but there's other areas where it probably wasn't a success. So I think you got to continue to keep trying to be more and more successful. And yeah, I just feel like I said earlier, I felt like I gave up a couple wins this year, and just like last week, making a mistake and spinning out when you're 4 laps away from the stage, like, that's a mistake that I don't need to be making, especially when the stakes are as high as they are. So yeah, kind of 50-50 on the success side.